So Super Rugby Round 14 results are all in. There were a few upsets this week, which means it's good for the power rankings. It makes things a little bit more interesting. If you guys have been following my videos for a while, you know that it's the first time I've run power rankings for a whole season. The formula is not perfect by any means, and I was going to leave it the same for the whole season. I have tweaked it very slightly for this week because I think there's a bit of room for improvement there. I was going to keep it the same, like I said, but yeah, I just adjusted the weighting a little bit for earlier results in the season. So there may be one team in particular whose fans might not be too happy with me, but we'll go through them and see how they look. So firstly, in 15th, still no change despite 2 wins in a row. The Sunwolves, much better stuff from them, but a record of 2 wins and 9 losses is still pretty bad reading. On the form they're in, there's no reason they can't go on a wee run. A lot of teams are struggling to put 2 wins on the bounce, and the Sunwolves have done it. So look out Rebels next week. The Sunwolves are going to be in town, and by the looks of things, they mean business. So we'll see how that one goes. Next, and down 1 spot, the Brumbies. Unlucky this week in terms of they didn't have all their men on the field for the whole game. But, I mean, I guess that's partly the pressure they were under. That Lions maul was just really unstoppable, and it was causing all kinds of problems for the Brumbies. Rory Arnold, yellow card, and then red card. Sam Carter, yellow card. Was always going to be difficult. They ended up getting kind of blown away at the end. Encouraging signs, but still a pretty heavy loss. Next, and up 1 spot, is the Blues. It seems bizarre that they can lose at home to the Crusaders and still go up a spot, but this may be to do with the slight tweak that I've made. Either way, there's not much between them and the Brumbies, to be fair. The Blues are 3 wins, 9 losses. The Brumbies 3 wins, 8 losses, so very similar records. The Blues have probably had a few tougher opponents in the New Zealand Conference. Some of the games they've not been blown away, so yeah, I like to think the Blues would win in a matchup between them. Sadly, they don't get to meet this season, but yeah, we'll see how things go next week to see if the Brumbies can jump back over. Next, and no change, the Reds stay in 12th. Impressive from the Reds this week. Big improvement from their result against the Sunwolves. But still another loss. Record's now 4-7-0, so 4 wins, 7 losses. Again, kind of like the Brumbies, there were encouraging signs during this game, probably even more so given they were playing the Hurricanes away. But yeah, they need to do it week in, week out, because they are very prone to having a poor performance followed up by a good one. So we'll see if Brad Thorne can help rectify that. Next, in 11th, Rebels. No change for them. They were on the bye. Hopefully they can kind of rest and recuperate for the Sunwolves coming to town, because their flying start to the season definitely seems like an age ago now. So yeah, if they're going to challenge the Waratahs for that playoff spot in the Aussie Conference or for 7th and 8th, they need to start winning, and soon. Next, down 1, the Stormers. Their season's not going very well, is it? Record of 5 wins, 8 losses. 8 losses, or 7 of them on the road, 1 at home. It's that road form that has absolutely killed their season, along with a few other things. That step that we all hoped the Stormers would be able to take, because you could feel it from 2 years ago when the Chiefs blew them away in that playoff game, and then the next year where it was a lot more competitive. You felt like the Stormers were on the right track, and then this season just seems to have absolutely stalled. Despite injuries and despite a really poor schedule, it's yeah, it's not good reading. So yeah, we'll see how they go next week against the Lions, but it's not pretty. In 9th, and down 1 spot, the Bulls. The Bulls are another team who kind of struggle with the whole consistency thing. They'll put in a good performance one week, and then, I mean, the Jaguares were really good in their game, so it's hard to criticize the Bulls too much, but yeah, they need to put some wins on the bounce as well, because that 7th and 8th spot in the playoff is looking really competitive. There's definitely a few teams who are looking to kind of, put that in their hands. And yeah, you got to win to do it. And if the Bulls are going to do it, then they'll need to start again next week with that travel out the way. They got the Brumbies, so maybe that's a bonus for them, because the Brumbies, haven't won for a while. Next, in 8th and up 2 spots, the Sharks ground out a win over a pretty weakened Chiefs side, so we'll give them a bit of credit for that. Still in playoff contention for sure. Probably not where they would like to be. We thought maybe they were going to challenge the Lions this season. I suppose in terms of wins, they're only a couple of wins behind. They got a record of 5 wins, 6 losses and a draw. But yeah, again, like a few of the teams in this conference, Jekyll and Hyde as to who shows up. It was kind of a middle of the road team that showed up on the weekend. So yeah, still improvement needed. Next, and this is the team I was talking about suffers due to my tweak. The Lions, down 2 spots, despite a big win over the Brumbies. The Brumbies are not the biggest of teams to beat, so beating the Brumbies at home is perhaps not worth as much as beating some other teams, which I'll get to in a moment. But Lions' record is 7-6-0, so it's only just in the positive territory. It's not a stellar record by any means. Their defence and just letting guys over the advantage line has kind of cost them a bit this season. And yeah, they're going to have to put in a shift before the end of the playoffs, or before the end of the regular season, in line for the playoffs, because yeah, other teams in the South African Conference have been picking up wins and really closing that gap. Plus the Lions have played an extra game on most teams as well. Next, in 6th and staying the same, the Waratahs. So the fact that they beat the Highlanders, who are a pretty strong team, they've been in the top kind of echelons of my power rankings for a while, gives them pretty good credit, and they did it by a good margin, despite the fact that the Highlanders had a red card and a yellow card. So that probably sees them essentially push the Lions down to 7th, I suppose. And yeah, it's good for Aussie Rugby that they got the win, so hence my jersey, giving them a bit of props. But yeah, again, they need to put it in week out. They got the Chiefs next week. It's their 4th New Zealand team in a row. They've gone 2 points lost, 2 points lost. Big win. Let's see if that trajectory can keep on climbing. In 5th, Highlanders down 2. Probably also suffering slightly from my tweak to the calculations. 7-4-0 is their record, so still pretty comfortably in the positive, but recent record is not great, especially that away from home. So if they're going to get anywhere near the top New Zealand teams, they're going to need to step it up. Hurricanes and Crusaders right now are still looking a cut above. You feel like if the Highlanders are going to go anywhere, they need to have a home game for their playoffs. So it's looking a bit of a stretch, but it's a team packed full of talent, so we will see if they're able to kind of up their game. Next, up 3 spots, the biggest winner from my adjustment to the calculations are the Jaguares. They're on one heck of a run. Their record is now 7-5-0, so they are even better than the Lions in terms of their being in the positive. I'm not sure when this run's going to end. Sanchez is in magic form for the Jaguares. They're just playing some really champagne rugby. It's not always been like that this season. There's been some games which have been pretty poor, but they're getting it right now. The new coach seems to have had a pretty positive influence. So, hey man, may it continue please, because we've all known for a while that the Jaguares can push, and it's finally kind of happening. Next, up 1 spot, more benefiting from the fact that the Highlanders also lost. The Chiefs also lost, but in a depleted side, and only narrowly did they lose to the Sharks, so can't give them too much in terms of punishment for that. The Jaguares are hot on their heels, so if the Chiefs can't do it over the Waratahs, you got to think that the Jaguares, if they win, will be jumping them for that top row spot. But at the moment, it's the Chiefs in 3rd. With their big guns back, you got to think they'll be a different team, but I guess we will see. 2nd, and still 2nd, the Crusaders. Good solid win over the Blues in Auckland. Discipline is still an issue. We've had Moody one week and now Franks this week. Yellow cards galore, so if there's one thing that the Crusaders need to work on, it's that, because they play the Canes next week and you definitely want all you guys on the park when playing the Canes. Speaking of the Canes, they remain in number 1. They are 10 wins in a row. They haven't lost since week 2. They've come close a couple of times. They've not really been always operating at optimal efficiency, but they still look very hard to beat. A team chock full of talent, and that clash between the Crusaders and the Hurricanes this week is pretty much mouth-watering stuff. Hopefully the Rugby lives up to it. Either way, it'll be an interesting one to watch. What do you guys reckon? I'm sorry, Lions fans, that my slight adjustment has dropped your team down, but hopefully in terms of fairness of the results, I think it's an improvement. Yeah, we'll see how these guys go, because there's still that chasing pack, which is not that far from the teams like the Lions. I'm talking about Sharks, Bulls, teams like that. Even the Rebels, who have played fewer games than most of the teams above them. Alright guys, like I said, let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again for the next one soon. See you later.